Hi everyone, we've got the June stats to share with you. I was away last week in Whistler actually sharing, critical insights with all of Canada. And I can tell you Ottawa is kind of rebalancing. We're in a transition phase, as most markets are, but our transition is so much more moderated because of the insulation of the high tech and government. So I'm here to share the stats with you, but I can tell you it's not all doom and gloom. So this first slide that we have is basically a 6-month snapshot of what's happening this year, and it's a rolling snapshot. So sales, of course, follow a seasonal trend, and what we saw in June is not abnormal. It's essentially a reduction from the peak spring market in sales volume. So we're down about 18% in sales volume with 1,500 sales. Active listings have shot up quite a bit, so that's a little bit of a unique comment relative to what we've been talking about for months. So we're about a 31% increase in active listings. So what does that translate to? Well, more months of inventory. So we're now at almost 2 months of standing inventory. That's still considered a very strong seller's market, but it certainly isn't what we saw in March, where there was just a complete frenzy and half a month of inventory. So what happens to prices when there's a little bit more options out there, and when the feds jump in and start really aggressively raising interest rates? Well, prices kind of moderate. So we now know that March was our peak, with an average sale price about $757. We've settled back to $691 now. Still better than we started the year, and about a 4% reduction from May. So moving on, if we look year over year, you'll kind of resonate with my comment that things are still very, very solid in Ottawa. So residential homes are up 6.4% year over year. So Ottawa average is about 5.6. So it kind of looks like we're going to end up with an average year. We'll see what happens in the back half. There's still lots more coming from the Fed, and I don't have a crystal ball. I just have some thoughts. Condos are averaging the same price they did last year, 438 versus 435, so like a 1% increase year over year. Moving on, sales to active listings. This is kind of really the key insight to determine where the market's going. So what we've had is a reduction in sales June over June. So 2122 last year, 1508 this year. Now that seems like a fairly dramatic change, but what you have to remember is, all of Canada sold about 50% more houses in 2021 than we have in the 5-year average. Like, it's just been an absolutely ballistic market. And we have this frame of reference as a result that is quite skewed. And so when things start to rebalance, we think, oh my God, the floor is falling out. But that's not the case. If you look at a 5-year average, our sales volume is quite normal. Active listings, as I mentioned, are up to 2796. They were at 21 last year. So, what does that mean? We've got about 2 months of staying inventory as opposed to 1. So what's happening here? Well, essentially we're in a transition market, and it's quite interesting to be involved in it because sellers, of course, are looking at the legend of their next door neighbor and thinking that the same money is available in the market, and we know clearly that it's not. Buyers, on the other hand, are really hesitating because they're wondering what's going to continue happening. And it's quite interesting because I think what we'll see is, those two groups come back together. We're in a very, very strong market, and it's moving towards balance and will continue to do so. But this is not even close to a buyer's market yet. There's still multiple offers. There's still lots going on. And I would suggest this to buyers that are thinking about waiting. We're going to see additional rate increases, and those rate increases are eroding your purchasing power quicker than the values are dropping. So there's not really a good impetus to wait. And from a seller's standpoint, this is more money than you've ever had before. It's not as much money as you had in March, but it's more money than you've had in any other year in the ownership of your home. So again, a very strong, solid market. Ottawa tends to be a very moderate market. We're not seeing the massive fluctuations that Toronto and Vancouver are, but we certainly are coming back to something that's more, more of a balanced market. So we'll see what July brings. My prediction, there's increased interest, there's more interest rate hikes coming. We're going to continue to see this trend for the short term anyways. And it's a great time to jump in before interest rates get higher, and while there are some good deals to have. And I'd also suggest that if you're someone that's holding your real estate and thinking about an investment purchase, this is a really cool time. if prices, where they've come to, we're getting people that just simply can't afford to own real estate, so they move to the rental market. So it's a really great time to look at investment buildings when there's a little bit of a dip in prices, and there's probably a flood of people moving into that marketplace. So if you want to talk about that, give me a call and we'll share some insights. Anyways, let's see what July brings. Enjoy the summer, and don't listen to the doom and gloom in the media. We're in a very solid market that's simply moderating.